Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. First up, though, a correction on the deadline for the NNPA Chevy DTU program. The deadline for applications is indeed April the 7th. Please get your applications in April the 7th. Also, during a media roundtable yesterday with HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge, she made a serious pledge to Black owned media and a special $5.5 million award to two HBCUs. We will discuss. Also, life sucks or does it? That's the groundbreaking new book by renowned licensed mental health counselor, certified addiction professional Sonny Etienne. We will discuss the book, which Sonny says provides a unique minded approach that gives valuable insight into what perspective can do for your mental health, defining yourself in an ever evolving world. Who should you have in your life? And can love be achieved or is it impossible? Among other things, we're going to discuss this morning. Really interesting book by Sonny Etienne. But first again, there were some conflicting dates on the deadline to apply for the NNPA Chevy DTU Fellowship. It is April the 7th. Mark that date down, April the 7th. And it's fast approaching. Remember, HBCU bound students or HBCU students. One or the other. If you're in high school going to an HBCU or you're already at an HBCU, you're eligible to apply. You get a $10,000 scholarship and an $8,000 stipend over the course of the summer to work with GM and a Black owned newspaper. So apply today. And if you know of anyone, I hope my niece applies again. I see Dr. Nicole's on. So 18 grand just for a couple of months. Can't beat it, right? Especially given the fact that certain people don't want student loan debt forgiven. This should really help out at least a little bit, right? So apply April 7th. Go to the website, NNPA DTU, nnpa.org/DTU. Discover the unexpected. Had a great meeting with the Housing and Urban Development in Washington, D.C. yesterday with Secretary Marsha Fudge. The government spending a pittance of its advertising dollars for Black owned media, and President Biden demanding that agencies expand contracting opportunities for historically disadvantaged businesses, including those owned by women and people of color. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Fudge has made a specific pledge to African American publishers and media company owners. She says, quote, I will take a look at it, and if advertising spending is where you say it is, we will change that. She declared that following a question from NNPA President and CEO Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis Jr. about the inequitable distribution of ad dollars with the Black press. Marcia Fudge went on to say, you can hold me to that. Chavis, Washington and former publisher Denise Rolock Barnes, who was on the program yesterday, and media mogul Roland Martin all pressed Marcia Fudge and others during a Black Media Roundtable at HUD in Washington yesterday. The federal government, this is to put it all in perspective for you guys, they spend about $600 billion each year on consumer goods and services, but only a small portion of that money goes to small businesses owned by women, minorities, and those otherwise disadvantaged. The most recent Government Accountability Office study found that federal agencies spent more than $5 billion on advertising over 5 years, with just 51 million of that 5 billion, or 1.02%, going to Black-owned businesses. So we're going to hold, Marcia Fudge said, hold her to it. So the secretary, we will definitely be checking in on you real soon with that. Also, HUD announced awards totaling $5.5 million for historically Black colleges and universities to conduct housing and community development research. The announcement came during that media roundtable that it also included Melody Taylor, the regional director for the Mid Atlantic Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, and also Erica Lowe, the director of African American Media at the White House, attended as well. They said HBCUs create economic opportunities both for their students and throughout the communities they serve. At HUD, we are proud to partner with HBCUs to expand the voices in the housing research space to support strong communities, build affordable housing, create job opportunities, revitalize neighborhoods, and promote home ownership. So in that vein, they're going to give Texas Southern University $3 million, and North Carolina A&T University $2.5 million to establish or bolster an existing centers for excellence that conduct housing and community development research. So big stuff coming out of HUD. We should have more on that eventually on Black Press USA, but certainly in our member newspapers across the country. So now, Sonny Etienne he's written a pretty provocative book. It's really centering on mental health. The book is based on his years of experiences working with behavioral health patients, and it offers a solution to the difficulties of life by providing a guide to introspection and self-discovery. In Life Sucks, or Does It? Sonny addresses the current concern with suicide rates, rising depression, and other psychiatric problems by providing a guide to foster spiritual awareness and help individuals deal with life stresses. And here to talk about it is the author himself, Sonny Etienne. Sonny, good morning. Uh-oh, we done lost Sonny. Boy, all that buildup, and Sonny's not even there.
Hello? No, Sonny is here.
Sonny's here. Sonny,
Apologize. Good morning. Good morning.
see you, Sonny.
Hello, sir.
Yes, we hear you, but we don't see you, Sonny.
Oh,
The book is Life Sucks, as y'all can see. Um,
can
and
you?
your camera is failing you right now. So why don't we just do this until we get that camera together, Sonny? Why don't we just put that book cover up there, and we'll talk to the book cover, and Sonny, we'll hear your voice. How about that? Sonny, are you there? Sonny's gone altogether now. Oh wow. Well, until Sonny gets back, the Power 96 says the problem with that is the state government is talking about the HBCUs and the HUD situation. The South will not give the HBCU the money. In this case, those two HBCUs, Power 96, they're getting this directly from HUD. Um, and Facebook user says they're trying to share the DTU information. Please send or make the link shareable. Thanks for the information. We will put that information up again about the DTU, and um, also I'm looking at a note, y'all. But yeah, we'll put that information up shortly on the Discover the Unexpected. Again, it's a tremendous program. It's been going on 6 years. I think this is the 7th year now. And so 18 to 22. Now, if you're in Alabama by chance, um, the minimum age requirement is 19 years old. For some reason, that has still not been explained to me why it's 19 in Alabama. And so the address is there, www.nmpa.org/Chevy DTU/online dash application. So sign up there. Hopefully, everyone will get a chance to experience what these students. We've talked to many of those students over the past couple of years who have thrived in this program. And oftentimes they also have uh, a celebrity ambassador too to mentor the students. Sort of like the program we was in Walt Disney, the Disney Dreamers Academy. And now we have Sonny back. Sonny, how are you?
Stacey, I apologize for the technicalities. I apologize. Sorry about that.
Nah, not a problem. So, Sonny, life sucks or does it? Which one is it? Tell
Yes,
us
sir.
about the book.
This book is all about soul searching from the inside out. The focus of this book is on introspecting. And in this book, I'm providing readers with tools and tips on how to deal with what they feel, how to heal with what is real. And we know we live in a very real world that is unfortunately riddled with a series of unfortunate events that happen to us all. And so I developed and wrote a manual, a guide, if you will, that would provide tips and guidance to an audience that I felt would really benefit from an alternative approach to one that so many of us, so many people that I deal with at least carry, and that is a sense that life itself sucks. Life is meaningless.
Wow. So there's some questions that you pose in the book, and I'm gonna go take some of them anyway. So what perspective can do for your mental health? What can perspective do for your mental health?
Oh, and there's an old saying that perspective is everything. Perspective is how I see things. And depending on how I see things, that's going to determine how I respond to things. And by things, we mean everything from the things that we experience to the things that we feel to the things that we're seeing. I think watching the news, I think leaving our homes. I mean, could you imagine what parents are going through every day that they drop their children off to school? What what black males face every time they step in a car. Just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I experienced it yet again. Stopped and frisked. Well, more than frisked, the guns pointed to my head. It is like this. What kind of a reality is this? You know, for us. Um, Trauma across the board, a world of war, you know, and so there are so many atrocities and so many calamities and so many reasons that a person could reach a point of feeling that life sucks, but moreover, reach a point of even thinking, why stick around? Why be present? And to
Wow.
that is why I wrote this book to offer folks the tools on how to develop a different, or if not an alternative perspective. Mine just focus on being introspective, which is having that internal insight that allows one to look at the same ordeals, the same tragedies of life, and still have hope, still have a sense of resiliency to carry on.
And you mentioned the trauma, even the school shooting this week in Tennessee. Uh, that's traumatizing.
Yes.
How does one process that? Something like that. These are kids. These are small kids. I believe each of those children who lost their lives in that shooting was 9 years old. Um, that's very traumatizing. Certainly, if you're a family member, a parent for sure. But just from the outside looking in, with all the different shootings, how do we process that, Sonny?
Yeah, we process it, of course, mentally, but then we experience it emotionally. Where I go in this book is taking my readers to the spiritual. I believe that the loss of spirituality has created that sense of hopelessness that so many are suffering and dealing with, particularly in light of such horrific events such as what just transpired and the ones that are happening even today. That's the unfortunate. So I provide the tips, and what I call the introspective perspective consists of what I or insight, the ability to see within oneself and to look at life with a lens of, okay, this is a reality. So I lower the expectation that I'm not going to deal with tough situations in life. I accept that reality. But it also includes hindsight. It's looking back in retrospect and seeing how history can teach us and provide us with hope. It also is foresight, having a sense of hope moving forward into the future. In addition to that, it's having oversight. And that is that level of responsibility that I take over my life and over situations that I can control, that I can do something about. I'm empowering readers to look within themselves, to draw strength from themselves. This book does rely a lot on music and film as a way to inspire and, moreover, to incite the level of insight that I'm trying to help readers develop. So, we can process these very horrific situations and become despondent and even reach a point of desperation, if not depression. But there's an alternative, but it
Well,
does mean enduring the suffering and the pain. Mhm.
yeah, and you mentioned hope, but and the name of the book is "Life Sucks or Does It," and you can see where that comes in, right? So let's tackle the hope part on whether or not life sucks. The hope part, this world as currently constituted, right, doesn't offer a whole lot of hope going forward.
Yeah. It sure doesn't, when we only look at it through that one lens. And that's what can happen is in our being myopic, we're unable to see that there are other stories of overcoming. I think about the beautiful song by Mahalia Jackson, I Got Over. How does this group of people that is in this horrific situation in these states, they still manage to find a way to look at their situation and yet turn those lemons into lemonade, to be able to endure the pain of of unfairness, which is why suck stands for sad, unfair, chaotic, and knowingly senseless. I know the reality, but I'm looking deep within as opposed to just looking without, and
Mm.
that's where I'm going to draw the strength.
Yeah, and you pose the question, or at least define, how do you define yourself in an ever evolving world? And isn't that that part right there, defining yourself in this ever evolving world? Um, People, do you find people struggle with defining themselves?
Most certainly, I think they do struggle with finding themselves sometimes because the tools that they were using with pretty much guides them to just emulate, if not mimic and copy someone else. So we're recreating pretty much clones of other people as opposed to discovering ourselves. So we find ourselves by defining ourselves. And there's a chapter in the book called What is a Man? And in that chapter, I'm using the development of a boy to a man as a way to help readers, women included, how to find and define themselves. I think about the words of Dr. King in his one speech where he says, don't let anyone put you down or tell you that you're this or you're that. We must reach into the inner bowels of our own soul in order to define ourselves. And I think that's why introspection is so important. We have to spend time alone with ourselves. There's a heavy emphasis in the book on not being afraid to face ourselves. We all know the beautiful song by Teddy Pendergrass, you can't run from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are. And so it's spending time with you and learning about you that you begin to define who you are, as opposed to someone else on the outside who doesn't know you, giving you a formula for you to model yourself after.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, well, you tackle the question in the book, who should you have in your life? Now, that's something that, again, is nothing new under the sun, right? That's always been an important part of all of us, and deciding who we should have in our life. That and for many, it's very difficult. I always go back to MC Hammer
Mm-hmm.
and how he candidly talked about, and we saw it in real time when he
Yeah.
was big at the time, right? He had
Mm-hmm.
a, I mean, everyone around him, everyone
Yeah.
from his neighborhood, everyone from his childhood, and they were all, as he said, all on the payroll doing nothing. He, of course, he went bankrupt, and I mean, Hammer has since recovered, but there are people that is in your life. For some, it's hard. It's hard to get rid of.
That's a great point. Sometimes it's hard to get rid of them, I think, because of what I talk about in the book. We all struggle with this emotional need to feel acceptance, affection, attachment, and we all want attention, particularly in this day and time, this craving for attention. But also, we all want to be actualized. We all want that. So we feel that people feel that void. And so what I provide in the book are the tools, if not a measuring stick, for how to be a good judge of character. MC Hammer said in one of those interviews regarding that situation is he learned the hard way, you cannot save the world. He said the one guy who tried, look at what they did to him. And that saying always stuck with me because I was like, wow, Hammer came out of that situation more seasoned and more hip to who to allow into what I call your solar system. And that means that's part of soul searching. I've got to test people's souls out and see, dude, does it resonate with me? So the rubric that I provide is one of check a person's values, take a look at their vices, understand what are their vanities, and try to assess what are their virtues. Know then that you have within your immediate social circle, or what I call the solar system.
Hmm. And again, this tackles mental health, something that, you know, many in our communities, it's like, you know what, take a nap, you'll feel better in the morning. And how do we has that gotten better? Let's start there. Has that gotten better? Have you found in your mission, in your travels, that attitude toward mental health in the Black community, have you found has it gotten better, or is the same, or what?
Well, that's a great question. Fortunately for me, as a therapist, that works with, patients, I do get reports back from them on the work that I do. And so the report has been very positive. The response even to the book has been very positive. That having the correct perspective, even insofar as who I allow in and out of my life, does render mental health benefits. Because if you think about it, the majority of our mental health issues are still socially related. It's related to issues in my marriage, problems with my children, issues with coworkers, etc. Even if we take a look at it on a more global scale, right now, look at what's going on in Ukraine. That's an issue of people not getting along, groups on a political level.
Hmm.
So it does render mental health across the board because how I see things will determine how I respond to things. And so that's the reason why a healthy perspective, provided you have the right tools, will definitely help you to look at life. That's why I say good outlook will result in new and better outcomes.
Yeah, and you also tackle the question about love. Is it impossible?
Mm.
Talk about that, because
Sure.
um, you know, people, there are those who perhaps have given up on it, and perhaps
Yeah.
there are those who don't believe it's possible to attain true love.
No, it's a great, great one. And I know this chapter itself will probably either be controversial or will help a lot of folks because in it, I am questioning what exactly is real love. Just taking off from Mary J. Blige's, famous song back in '92, Real Love. I'm searching for this real love. But I juxtaposed that song with Anita Baker's song, which is Fairy Tales, in which she describes what her mother taught her and how she conditioned her to expect love. What I'm challenging is what is real love from what is ideal love. I'm bringing folks back down to reality. The reality is this: couples fight. The reality is this: we don't always get along. The reality is that I may have subscribed to an idea, if not a notion of love, that is pretty much a setup for failure. And so it's a real love in that love is not going to be just something based on what you feel. It's going to be more so based on fighting for something that is real, something that has true significance and meaning to one's soul, not just one's mind or one's emotions.
We're talking to Sonny Etienne. He is the author of the new book, Life Sucks or Does It? It's really an interesting read, put it that way. And it really dives into, and he's been mentioning, referencing songs, music. And music, to borrow a phrase from Marvin Gaye, it's the soundtrack of our lives. And it's the soul of the man, is what Marvin Gaye sang about. Um, how important has music been, particularly to Black folks?
Oh, I think music is the heartbeat of Black folks. Louis Armstrong said it best: music is life itself. And speaking of Marvin Gaye, in his song Life is for Learning, he talks about how life is a school. And he says there were some songs for hating, there were some songs from Satan, there were some songs for love, there were some songs from lust. And he's like, we have to be careful what songs we're injecting into our soul, because it's no different from dope. Songs can give you hope. And so I utilized music, song lyrics in particular, throughout this book because I wanted this experience not just to be one in which the reader is just reading words, but they're listening, they're watching film, and they are having this immersive experience because music is a soulful act. These artists, they're soulful artists. They created great works from the depth of their core. And I think a lot of them were really trying to say something to us. And so music has helped our people, Black people in particular, never mind post-transatlantic slave trader. We're talking just continental, on the very continent itself. It has shaped us, it molds us, it unites and binds us because there's something about the rhythm. There's something about that connecting force with sound, frequency. So music, I think, is a lifeline that we toss out to those persons who are despondent, who are depressed, in order to reach the shores of hope and to reach the shores of there's another way of looking at this. I got over.
Yeah. Yeah. So music is you mentioned music and how important it is, and the way you just went through it. Obviously during slavery, out in the fields, right? They
Mhm.
sang, right?
Yes, sir.
um where can folks get the book from, Sonny?
The folks can buy this book on my website, sonnyetienne.com, which will take you over to Amazon and you can buy the book there. Um, it's going to be on other international markets soon to be released. A lot of folks will really enjoy the audiobook version. There's a lot of music in the background. I intentionally did that because I wanted to give listeners a musical journey. The book also has a lot of illustrations that I really wanted to provide visuals behind just the reading itself. So please go to sonnyetienne.com. You'll find some of the graphs. You'll find other articles and blogs that I've written to really enrich your soul. This book is every bit soul searching, whether it's soul music or my helping one to become more soulfully aware.
So soulfully aware, and finally, Sonny, before we let you go,
Yes, sir.
um, sum it up. What would you recommend a person do to become a better version of themselves?
Great question. In this book, every chapter opens up with a verse from the book of Ecclesiastes. I love that book because that book has the writer called the philosopher in the book, where he is pretty much saying everything is pointless and meaningless. The writer, in his depression and even in his analysis of life, concludes like, "What's the point?" But towards the end of that book, he does reach a conclusion. He says, "You know what? Fear God, fear God, and obey His commands." In
Hmm.
no way am I purporting any particular religion or faith, but I am certainly pushing readers to find the God in them, find God. And why do I say that? Is because by tossing out the possibility of God, I think we also toss out hope. And we're left with just trying to figure things out as best we can with just what reason is telling us. And I think reason does reach its limits. And there is a certain point where we subscribe to something higher, something more that we can't even see. And that's part of the reason why every chapter in the book ends with a quote by Helen Keller. I specifically chose Helen Keller because here's a person who doesn't see, and yet she sees.
Mm. Well, Sonny, at the end, the book again is "Life Sucks or Does It?" It's available. Different sites there has been posted where you can get the book. Sonny, we really appreciate this insight this morning. It's never a bad time to talk about behavioral and mental health in our community. Thanks so much, Sonny. And there's the book
Thank
again.
you.
Get the book,
Thank you for having me.
and thank you for being with us. And thank you all for joining. Let it be known we will see you again at this time tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.